We have a quorum present. Others may be joining us shortly, but it is now time. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and as revised, remote participation by any members in the public and will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so. Instructions are on the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. No in-person be anything. All votes will be roll call. I am Fred Clark. I am participating remotely, the chair, and I'm serving tonight as the chair. We have the following members participating remotely. Ananda Timpani, Bill Cook, Garfield Reed, and Robert Sloanaker. Welcome. We'll begin with our agenda, which basically the first item is to review the minutes. And Shep, I appreciate you sending them out. However, I think we're going to pass over them tonight because members have not had an opportunity to review the minutes of May 18th.
No.
We have a draft of them and I will send them to you, Eileen, if you need them.
Thank you.
They're not official until they're voted on and accepted. So I think we're going to pass over tonight if you, because I don't believe we have had sufficient opportunity to review them. I want to thank Shep for getting us up to date. We were a few months behind in getting our minutes posted. Other than the most recent meeting, all of our minutes have been posted on the town website. And I believe, Bill, do we have recordings posted on our website? Bill, you're muted.
Not the last meeting, but I believe everything else is up there.
Terrific.
There was one meeting that didn't get recorded and that's not there, but their minutes are up for that.
Technical things happen.
Yeah.
I wanted to continue with new member introductions. Some of you may have met Ananda last time. She had a lot of things to say. Just looking forward to the wonderful contributions that she's going to bring. Also joining us tonight for the first time is a new member, Robert Sloanaker. We're very pleased to have you, Robert.
Thank
Do
you.
you wish to be called Robert or?
Rob is fine.
Terrific. For your, and also Krista, I don't remember her last name, Karis, I don't remember her last name, I'm sorry, is not with us right now, but may join us later. So we have, thank you. We have a full complement of 7 members now, 4 of which are required for a quorum. So we were in a situation where we were desperate for everybody to show up for a quorum. And I think also these folks that I've had opportunity to talk to have wonderful people who are very dedicated and full of ideas. And I think that's what we need. We need a new focus, and that's what I want to work on tonight. For those of you who've just joined us who are new here, my name is Fred Clark. I'm the chair. Bill Cook is the vice chair. Bill was the founding member of the founding inspiration for the Affordable Housing Trust when he was a select board member. Also on our committee is Garfield Reed, who is a current select board member and former planning board member. Remember? Yes. And brings a depth of understanding. Shep is here as the recorder. He is not a resident of Great Barrington, doesn't vote for us, but he does a wonderful job of keeping our minutes up to date. If
Au contraire. Au contraire, I live on Monument Valley Road, actually.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
I thought you lived in Stockbridge.
No, that's my postal address. Used to live in Stockbridge.
How is Monument Valley Road in Stockbridge?
In Stockbridge? No, this is Monument Valley Road in Great Barrington. No, I have a post office box in Stockbridge I've had for years and years and years.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you lived in Stockbridge.
No, I live on Monument Valley Road.
Well, you
Have for 20 years.
I stand corrected. Since we have such a small group, I'm just going to continue. Those of you who joined us late, Carol Bosco Bowman is joining us tonight as a guest. She is the, would you call it temporary or interim director of Community Development Corporation. So one of the wonderful people who help us out with and we are able to partner with and are doing wonderful things about affordable housing. And Eileen Mooney is also on the call. Eileen publishes a very well-read newsletter about events in Great Barrington. Anyway, that's enough of the introductions. In terms of program updates, Habitat Humanity is working on Grove Street. I don't have anything new on that at this point. North Plain Road, the town of Great Barrington submitted a grant application to MassWorks. As you may recall, we received $69,000 for North Plain Road last year. That money paid for engineering and survey work, site design, those sorts of things, and a fairly comprehensive construction estimate. Because of the volatility in the construction industry, that number of construction has gone up. We submitted the second half of our application in the first part of June. I think it was a June, same night as town meeting, like June 4th deadline. Over $2 million is what we are applying for to extend the sewer line, the water line, to do the required on-site drainage. As you may know, under town and state law, we need to handle all of the site water on site. So in other words, we can't build and send water up to our neighbors. That would just be no. So we need to do all that. And the other part of that is putting in the roads. So the town still owns the property. The town has submitted the application, and we should know around the beginning of October whether we're successful or not. If we are, and we've been told we have a very good chance because we have a project that's in the pipeline and ready to go, we will then put a RFP out for a bidder for construction and start construction. After that project is properly bid, start construction in the spring on the infrastructure. Very long process to develop new housing, but we're in the middle of it. We're about halfway right now. As those of you who attended town meeting know, the budget for the 2023 fiscal year was approved. That included Community Preservation Act recommendation for $200,000 for our committee. This year, we did something a little different. We made it for any use that we desire, any approved use that, that I can just see my quote there, any use we desire. Any housing use that's approved. So beginning in July with the new fiscal year, our coffers will be replenished. Not a lot, but we'll have $200,000. We have, I can put the budget number up later. We have about $45,000 in other unencumbered funds, funds that haven't been promised at this point. So those are the things that we need to work on. I would want to talk a little bit. I want to open up the discussion tonight to talk about what we want to do for New Focus. And I'd like to start off by telling you about a conversation I had with Chris Rembold about, and basically talking with Chris and picking his brain about how we can continue to be effective as an affordable housing trust. As you may know, we've been meeting for 5 years. We spent basically the first year trying to figure out what it is we could do, what we needed to do, and what legally we could do. We basically at this point have 2 programs, the rental assistance program that Construct operates with our funding. The town of Lenox Affordable Housing Trust is doing the same thing. They're providing funding for the same program for Lenox residents. And we have the down payment assistance program, where if someone wants to buy a house, we will loan them at 0 interest money, up to $25,000 if they're income qualified. For us, income qualified is 100% area median income. I have had exactly 1 inquiry since the beginning of the year regarding the down payment assistance program. It's just really difficult in this housing market for people to find affordable housing, basically in the $250,000 range, or if it's a 2-family, maybe in the $350,000 range, and meet our income guidelines. It's really difficult, and we can talk about that. Since the last meeting, Bill has posted the new 2022 income guidelines that went up 8.8% from last year. I believe they're on our website right now.
Yeah.
Basically, a family of 2 is, I don't know, off the top of my head, something around $67,000 worth of income. A family of 4 is up to about $75,000. It sounds like a lot of money for those of us, traditionally. It's, how can you not afford a house if you're making almost $70,000 a year? But that translates to a husband and wife, or a two-party, 2-family, 2 income earners, where one's earning $18 to $20 as maybe a laborer, carpenter's apprentice, whatever kind of thing, maybe a big Y, who knows? And the second party earning $15, $16 an hour which would be the salary for somebody like a certified nurse assistant, or lots of other entry-level jobs. And $20 an hour translates to about $40,000. $15 an hour is about $35,000. Pretty soon you're at $75,000, but you still can't afford housing at $300,000.
35. 15 is more like 31.
Yeah, you're right. Because 2,080 hours a year. So yeah.
And I just checked for a family of 4, it's 94,000 is 100% of area median income. 94,000.
The one thing that I think that I haven't done, that I as chair need to do, is to reach out to some of our partners and make them aware that we've updated the income guidelines. They may not be aware. When we started this program, we reached out to realtors and to mortgage brokers throughout the community, that these are the people that have the clients. These are the people who are on the front lines talking to people. And this is another tool that can help somebody to get into a house. Interestingly, one of a local real estate lawyer who handles all mostly just real estate closings has been one of our best promoters. She's steered several clients to us. So we want to try to use that program again and keep that going. The other program, the rental assistance program that we started during the COVID pandemic, I talked to Jane Ralph at Construct. So basically Construct runs a program that provides grants for people. The average grant's around $800. They have helped hundreds of people at this point, just in Great Barrington. And most people end up getting about 2 months worth of rent. And it's basically helping them on their feet. As I said, Lennox is doing the same thing, but also they're tapping into money from Berkshire Taconic Foundation. Jane said that this is tapering off, that they still have money that they haven't utilized yet. They're getting many less requests at this point. I don't know if that's because of what she said was that there are less rental units, that some of these units have been taken off the market, basically. And
Yes, people are moving out of Great Barrington and out of the area who work down here.
It's a problem. For us, I was trying to anticipate whether there was an additional need for funding. We have about $35,000 in a previous year's allocation that was designated for either rental assistance or down payment assistance. And my feeling is that I would recommend to this committee that we use that money first, if and when Construct comes to us and says, hey, we need more money. Hey, this is, thing. As you may know, the town did a housing needs study. I think I've sent it to almost everybody here. It's on the town website as well, with the Berkshire Regional Planning Authority. And it basically said that there's about a need for about 800 more rental units in Great Barrington. This was done in 2020, before the pandemic, or before the worst part of the pandemic. But of the recommendations, the two top recommendations were to continue the rental assistance program and continue the down payment assistance program. This committee is the committee that runs those two programs. So Christina is here, and I'm going to promote her and welcome her in a minute.
Krisha.
Christina. Christina, welcome. We have just gotten started a few minutes ago. Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, hi everybody.
Hi.
So with us is Bill Cook, myself, Fred Clark, chair, Garfield Reed, Ananda Timpen, Robert Sunlaker, and then Carol Bosco Bauman and Eileen Mooney are guests. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about what we want to do going forward. What Chris and I talked about, Chris Rembold town planner and talked about is it's going to be very difficult for us to develop new affordable housing as a developer. We don't have the staff or the expertise. We're trying that on North Plain Road now. It's taking years. It's taking a lot of work. I don't think Habitat has the capacity to do two of those projects at the same time. I don't think that we should be focusing our energies on doing that because I don't think we have the expertise or we have the staff to do that. I do think that we should be in the position of providing grants or partnering with others who have the expertise, whether it's Construct or Community Development Corporation or Housing of Southern Berkshires or someone else who have the professional ability to do these projects. I'm happy to talk about that, but I really think that, and the kind of money that we need to talk about, in other words, at one point, I was thinking that we could replicate North Plain Road. We could find another 7-acre piece of land. We could buy it. We could leverage the cost of that land. I mean, what we basically did on North Plain Road was we leveraged the value of the land to get Habitat to come in and build the houses on that. So we gave them the land or granted them the land so that they could then come in and build houses. I don't think we can do that again. I don't think we should be doing that again. I'm not sure that we can find another piece of land. And I'm not sure that the amount of effort and work is going to make a big difference in our affordable housing community there.
Ask a couple of questions, Fred.
Yeah, sure, please do.
Well, I don't know if I don't think it's a secret, but Richard Stanley has been speaking with some of the select people, or actually all of them. He has some thoughts, and I would like to know why we aren't doing this. I know we talked about maybe not being a landlord, but we need to do something. But I'm wondering, ARPA money, I'm also wondering, and maybe we've discussed this, I don't remember, but speaking about ADUs and whether or not we can do something with them, we can maybe.
ADUs are accessory dwelling units.
Absolutely.
The planning board basically allowed ADUs by right in just about every residential district in town. In other words, if you're in a single family district, you can build what used to be called a mother-in-law apartment over the garage and rent it out. Or you can put a tiny house in your backyard. Right? Is that close enough?
Yeah.
Well, is that something?
Sorry. Sorry, we could encourage that with a little money, I think.
I think we need to talk about that. Regarding ARPA money,
Yes.
ARPA is coming to us over at least 2 years, maybe 3 years. And the town is getting over $2 million in ARPA money. So ARPA stands for, I don't know what ARPA stands for, so I won't even talk about it.
The American Recovery
something
Act.
Yeah, it's something act. But it's basically one-time money coming from the federal government to different communities to help the pandemic. And the town of Great Barrington did a survey where they, sort of an informal survey, I don't think it was very scientific, basically asked people what their ideas were. And some people wanted to help service workers, but the number one response was affordable housing. The town has allocated, so the town has about $2 million payable over 2 years. This year, the money that's coming in soon, the town has decided to allocate $150,000 to affordable housing. Don't get excited. That money is basically the town's match for the MassWorks grant for the North Plain Road. And that would be 10% is the requirement.
Is that
5%.
only 150? I thought it was more like 350.
Chris told me 150.
Okay, that's all we need for the match, I guess.
Maybe.
I
you may be right.
actually heard eight, much more than that. So I'm, as the first part of the allocation.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Maybe I heard the wrong number. The what they've decided so far, and this is the thing about ARPA money, is they can spend it at will. They don't need a vote of town meeting. They don't need basically almost anything.
Yeah.
And it's Mark Prensky and Chris and one other person who are just sort of a subcommittee who are deciding how to allocate this money. They thought that they might end up committing some to the Housatonic School, but they have not opened the bids yet, and they do not know what those are going to be. If they're affordable housing, they may end up having to subsidize that in some way. Out of that 150, 350, 450, whatever number it is, it's possible that we could, if we had a proposal, come before them. Certainly for the second year, if there's $1 million coming in the second year, I've been told that if we make a proposal, we would have a good chance of succeeding, of getting ARPA money for second year.
So basically, we're in a situation where we have limited funds for the coming fiscal year but really good prospects for the following fiscal year between the tax that was passed at town meeting and that we could access ARPA funds potentially, correct?
I don't know if really good is this. I think it's a long shot that we're going to get significant ARPA money. But
I'm saying one way or another, we are looking at a different size budget for FY24 than FY23.
I hope,
Yeah.
Well, definitely, there was a new tax levied.
which is about $10,000 a year.
Okay,
So the tax that Ananda is referring to is on the short-term rental, there is a tax. And it says right in the regulation that the proceeds of that tax go to the Affordable Housing Trust. So it's another income stream. But Chris
but I'm
Van Volt
hearing
said
it's
it's
not significant.
about $10,000.
So my point though is I think that it would be good to structure this discussion in terms of thinking about short-term, intermediate, and long-term. And what we do in the next year supports all of those things. There's limits on what we can get done with $200,000. I think
Because we
it's
have
really
obligations
important that part of our priority in this year is doing some strategic thinking to set ourselves up to be able to actually have funding that can impact what's happening in our community around affordable housing in a broader way than what our current funding can in the current market. I do think there are things we can do this year. Fred, are you going to have us go around and share our ideas? Like, what's the structure for the brainstorming that you want to have done?
Honestly, there's no structure.
Okay.
You give me too much credit for that. What I want to do first right now is come back here and
Can I say something?
yes, of course you may.
What about CPA money? Because at some point we had some budget because of the CPA money, yes?
That is the CPA money,
Yeah.
the 200,000.
ARPA is different than CPA.
Yes, the 200,000 that were allocated for FY23 is CPA money. Plus,
Okay.
what did you say, Fred? Did you say it's 30 something left over from FY22?
See my screen?
Yes.
Barely.
Okay,
If you can make it bigger, that would be good.
I can certainly make it bigger. Does that help?
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Do
could
you
go
see the
bigger.
numbers?
So we have 245. for the
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to squint, but yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, you must be on a phone or something.
Yeah.
Basically, if you look at the far right column where it's labeled balance, those are the amounts that are remainder. Now, not all money is fungible. Some of it is allocated for specific items. The last item in the line, any housing purpose fiscal year 23, that's the new 200,000 that we have here. So yes, you're correct. We have 245.
Yeah.
Out of that money, what I'm trying to say is I'd like to reserve some so that we can continue the rental assistance and the down payment assistance programs. Those
So
are
should we
programs that are-
discuss that as a group first?
I'm making a proposal. I'm not acting unilaterally.
No, that's what I mean. Like, I'm just trying to, like, I want to make sure that we can get through getting some ideas on the table and.
I just wanted to show you my
That's why
screen.
I'm suggesting, why don't we discuss that one? That, I agree. I think we should continue. I think we should continue that program.
I think that those are the programs that we do well. I think that those are the programs that can affect people in a positive way. I think that, and if John Katz was here, he was unable to be here tonight. He's our finance guy. He's been talking about private fundraising and donor money.
That's what I would like to see. And
Yeah, I mean, I think we should do it. We won't see it for we won't see it in a meaningful way in the coming fiscal year.
Yeah.
If it's our
Oh.
first year doing it.
Right.
And I want to just do one note about CPA money and the fiscal year. Before we know it, the preliminary deadline will be on top of us for fiscal year 24 CPA money. That deadline is around September or October. We may not meet every month during the summer. So before we know it, we're going to have to commit to how much money we want to ask from CPA, which will be available in fiscal 24.
Yeah, and that basically we'll need to do that, put that ask together in September.
At the latest, yeah.
At the latest, we should be discussing it before then. And in order to be successful, we need to back it up. And it's a two-part thing. It's basically qualifications and then details a month later, like in November.
Okay.
Question on the subject of seeking donor money to help with this project. Being new to the game here, has anyone ever approached landowners for donating property? I know you didn't want to get into the property development aspect of it, but if someone were to give us the right to use property or a 100-year lease or something of that nature, has that ever been proposed?
Not to my knowledge.
I mean, I think that is on the table for Construct at least, and I don't know about CDC, Carol, but so I mean, like, it happens in our sphere.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we're so fortunate. I mean, across the state, there are towns where the Affordable Housing Trust is the only game in town. And they do a lot of stuff. Here, we're so fortunate to have CDC and Construct and the others who are working here. And from the very beginning, we wanted to work with them as partners and not competitors. So we basically want to help out.
Is there a means for identifying potential properties and approaching the owners, or?
We haven't done anything like that yet.
I don't.
Well, just one idea I had, looking at the town plot map of what property is owned by whom. You're all aware that Hunt Slonim bought the Searles Castle property in the
Yes.
last year or two. A large portion of that estate is on the other side of the river behind the sewage treatment plant, and it goes up the hillside and borders on Eisner Camp.
oh, really?
I was unaware of that.
Yeah,
I was understood that there was 17 acres, but I always thought it was on one side of the river.
The piece of property, well, the whole lot, it's actually, assuming you bought the whole lot, it's 60 acres on one side and 28 acres on the other side of the river. I'm basing this on the fact that the plot, the current Massachusetts Interactive Property Map shows educational consultants as the owner still of both of those pieces of property. That just may be a lag time and
Yeah, there's some kind of, I don't, like, this may or may not be connected, but there is some kind of conversation that's been ongoing at Parks and Rec about putting in some trails up there.
that would be me.
That would
And
be
that's a different piece of property.
great. So-
But
so
that's
you
why I'm
know,
used to
that's
looking at
exactly my
property maps.
question. It's like, is similar, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually
Um,
hiked it with Bernie Drew. Bernie's taken me up there. There's a few, he's taken on a couple of trails through the city.
Yeah, so this particular piece of property, if you go down Bentley Road, or actually if you go down Grove Street
Grove
to
Street.
its end, and where there's that
All the way to
chain,
Eisner. Yeah.
yeah, the first piece you come to is actually, or was owned by educational consultants. So I can only assume that if he purchased Cyril's Castle, he got both those pieces of property. I don't know.
I mean,
But-
I think we need to be thinking about things like that, that are they're gonna impact housing availability long-term, and we figure out the model, right? Like if the North Plain Road model isn't quite replicable for us, let's keep chipping away at it and let's identify possibilities like that. But I think if we hop project to project, it will be hard to change what's happening in the town. So that's why I'd love for us to be thinking about kind of buckets, and anything, whether it's a long-term outcome or a short-term outcome, we should be doing work on it in the coming year to get there. So
I think
me,
one
on the short term, I'd like to see us take these existing programs and expand marketing and community outreach, because people don't know about them. Everybody in South County should know about them, or be 3 people away from somebody who knows about them. And I think that the town has been paying attention more to having a positive presence, telling positive stories about the town on social media, in community spaces. And so I think that's where we could be doing some really low level things that could change access to the programs, especially speaking to your earlier point about how do we make sure everybody knows about the new AMI rates. I think that we should be looking for ways to leverage the housing trust in some of the private projects that are happening around worker housing. I think we should be thinking about partnering with the Sustainability Committee. That is a way for more people to know about what we have available, but it also is a way to shift what people want to vote on in town meeting. You know, I think long-term, I'd love to see us, and Bill, I know have talked to me about this. Like, I'd love to see us getting a larger share of the CPA funding.
Yeah,
And that's going to be work.
jump in and say, one of the other things was the recent study that the Conway School did about Berkshire food and agriculture concluded affordable housing for farm workers and people who are related to the food industry. Carol, you had your hand up. Do you have a comment that you'd like to jump in with?
Yeah. I wanted to just echo Ananda's desire to spread the word about the program. That was something that occurred to me a little bit early on. Of course, I do appreciate the fact that as far as the down payment program is concerned, that there just isn't the housing stock available for folks right now. But I do think that, any low hanging fruit that you can pick as far as creating awareness is concerned is great. And I'm happy to share information as we move forward, exploring ways. The CDC will always be have a program for larger scale affordable housing, but we are starting to consider things like the fact that there isn't that much large space available for those types of projects. And so, we want to look into the future for ways that we can, as a community, be more nimble about how to solve the shorter term need for affordable housing, because, I don't know about you all, but I know, I go to the bank and they've cut the hours at the drive-through, or one store's closed for the day. So it's impacting families, it's impacting businesses. And we've begun to start having exploratory conversations with folks near and far to try to problem solve this, because, it takes 3 to 5 years to get a big project, to the point of occupation. And we just don't have that time. So,
Yeah. Well, and
we're
to
thrilled.
sorry, Carol.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm really happy to see the energy around this in this committee. And I'm new in the realm of, while I'm not new to community development work, I am new to the realm of affordable housing. So I'm eager, having a lot of exploratory conversations with folks across the state, and look forward to learning and sharing out anything that might be helpful. So thank you.
To your point around how do we move at speed in such a tight housing market with not a lot of options to add housing quickly. I think, Garfield, what you were saying earlier about, like, let's think about accessory dwelling units. I've been thinking about that too. And I'm wondering if this isn't something that we could achieve in the next year, if we did something that is similar to what we're doing with the down payment program, but actually to support residents who want to put in an accessory dwelling and are willing to make it affordable housing. And I think the other political win-win on that is that we're also helping people stay housed in the community, in their homes, especially seniors.
Garfield, I see you've got your hand up, but I just want to jump in. And
Please.
that's something that we've talked about, or I've talked about with Chris, in terms of like buying residential affordable restrictions. So basically, for a sum of money, you sell us like a conservation restriction, but it becomes an affordable housing restriction. In other words, say you're building an accessory dwelling unit, we give you $35,000 to $50,000. You say the person who moves in there has to be income qualified, and and that doesn't go away. It stays there over time. Maybe we do 3 to 5 of those a year. Over 5 years, we've got 25 of those potentially throughout the town that are continue to be income qualified. We can do that right now with the money that we have, with the program that we structure, that we could offer that.
Because people are having a hard time staying here.
Yeah. If we combined a program that gave you $50,000 with, who was it? I think it's Amy Turnbull, has been promoting a tiny house development type of thing in town, and I'm not quite sure where that's going, but it would be nice if we could tell people this is how much it's going to cost to add something onto your house and put in the sewer and whatever, and maybe the trust could pay for a certain amount of that in exchange for keeping it permanently affordable to 100%.
We would have to get something like that out of it. Garfield, I know you got your hand up, but you've been very patient.
Okay. I have a question that actually is for me to help understand all the initials. CDC. Are you the folks that give us the money, or is it CPA? And then have a follow-up to it.
So we are the Community Development Corporation of South Berkshire. We built Bentley Apartments, among others, and we just were allocated CPA funds for Bridge Street, for the remaining portion of Bridge Street.
Okay, thank you. Is there a reason, and tell me if I'm wrong or way off or how we can fix this, but is there a reason why we don't work together more closely? Or do I have the wrong? It just seems like, I know when we've inquired about things before, we had to have just about boots on the ground and frames for that before any money wanted to be released to us. When I think we're all on the same team, we all have the same goal.
No, I think you're talking about CPA.
That's
Maybe. That's
Yeah.
what I'm,
No,
that's
that's different.
my discerning question, trying to find out who's
Ah.
what.
These are people who build affordable housing units. Larry Geller, was it?
Are we
Yeah.
not that as well? And why,
Larry Geller.
No,
why do we have
No,
so
we
many
don't.
different committees?
we don't really have the expertise to do that. We don't have any engineers or developers on our board.
Construction managers. It takes a full-time construction
Yeah.
manager to work.
That's probably more than we have the wherewithal to do,
But
but we
you're-
can help fund it.
Garfield, you're right about the CPA. They have been extremely project-based, where they're not interested in doing anything prospectively, but rather being very conservative about things. So I like some of these ideas. I like the ideas that we're talking about. I think in general, if we're going to, that we need to purchase, we need to use money to leverage what we can build for affordable housing. I think we need to move the market. We can't just do one or two things and expect things to change. We need to figure out how to leverage what we have, either by getting more money to leverage or to leverage it. That's kind of what we tried to do with North Plain Road, where we spent $15,000 an acre or a dwelling unit to buy land in order to get a $300,000 house put on the land. That's the model that we tried to use there. I think we can buy residential affordable housing restrictions, whether that's accessory dwelling units or whether it's somebody buying a house there. I think that we have to get something back, basically. I mean, Bill, you talked about this early on when we started meeting, that over time we would build up an inventory of affordable housing units.
Yeah. Really expensive to build right now, unfortunately. It's getting worse. But I think if we have ADUs all over town, that would be a great thing. I think it's a program worth pursuing, sort of subsidizing creation of ADUs and encouraging people to do it. A lot of people have an extra lot, they don't want anything to do with it.
So I think we can do two things. One is, I'm sorry, let me just get my thought out. One is that we can make grants. We can run with three things. We can run a programs like the down payment assistance, the rental housing. We can make grants to encourage affordable housing, hopefully with affordable housing restrictions. And the third thing is advocacy. And I think making people aware of what's possible, what's available, and being the town's voice. Right now, there's a lot of committees that are meeting about affordable housing and not a lot of coordination is going on. And we really need to step up and say, hey, we can help you. As to what form that takes beyond that, I'm not 100% sure. Christina, you had a comment?
Yeah, for me, first of all, this meeting seems to be moving around the same ideas that have been on the table for a long time. And I feel that there's a bunch of new people here who have all kinds of different new ideas. And I would like a certain structure created so we all can come up with those ideas. It possibly that could be just us writing an email, and then we can talk about all those ideas next time. But in this moment, I have an idea. As we know, when you don't have the money and you want to build something, you have to do two things. You have to first buy the land, and then you have to build. For many times in my life, I had enough money to build something, but I didn't have money to buy both land and build. And lots of people are in the situation. So I think the idea of getting land bought by, being donated or have a fundraising to buy the land, that people can build not $300,000 house, but sort of bigger, tiny house for 150,000. I know it's difficult, but it's possible, especially if people are putting their own work into it. There's lots of young people and young families that would be able to do this. At this point, they are not able to afford $300,000 house. And I have friends, young families that both people work. So I think the getting land and letting people build within certain, of course, restrictions. And again, we could have another fundraiser. There's billions of people, billions of money here. People want to help, but they want to know what's the proposal, very clear proposal, and then they will maybe give the money. So that's my.
So your idea about the land is rather than a model that's like what we're doing with Habitat, where we're getting the land and figuring out all the houses are getting built, that we could get the land and be a vehicle for individuals to access it and build basically versions of tiny houses. And it stays affordable housing. Yeah. I'm thinking about your process question too. And I'm wondering if, like we have limitations on how we can work together between meetings, but maybe it would be a useful outcome of today's meeting to identify a couple areas and just pair up to do some work to bring back to the committee for the next meeting to flesh out what it could look like for us to work on that idea. I also had a question about the process for accessing the down payment program right now. Is there a pre-approval process?
They have to be pre-approved for a mortgage by a bank who can include our assistance in their financial picture.
But so if we had somebody who doesn't have a property yet, they're ready to start looking, they could get a mortgage pre-approval and come to us for a pre-approval and then be working with real estate. Okay. Because I think that's something people need to know.
Yeah.
On Nanda's idea of a way to work in between meetings, since the meetings are once a month and not easy for everyone to attend, is there a way to collaborate ideas via a document online? Is that allowed?
No.
But we can meet in pairs.
We can meet in pairs.
And we can submit things to the pack to be included in the packet.
Yes.
And then all of us can review the packet 48 hours in advance and come to the meeting knowing what other people's work has been.
So our brainstorming can be a little more organized before we get to a meeting.
Exactly. No,
Well, and if we can know more about it.
Yes. Have details and facts.
So can we meet three of us, like Rob, Nanda, and Christine?
Just two.
Just two.
What if two of us met in a public place and the third one just happened to be nearby?
This is the problem of small towns. You have to move on.
Yeah. We could consult with Eileen. She knows all the details of that, but I believe as long as we are.
It has to do with the size of the committee as a whole. So the select board
Exactly.
members can definitely not meet as three people.
That's right.
What you want to avoid, what you want to avoid is being a quorum.
Yeah.
The quorum is 4 for us.
So we could do 3 people.
Yeah, but it would be
Yes,
probably just fine.
you got to be careful. 3 is very close to 4.
Really?
It is right before it.
Getting closer
But not
all the
after.
time.
If I may, a
Yes.
couple of things. One is I don't know if I would cherish the idea of doing homework, if you will, because I'm kind of busy already. with a lot of stuff. That doesn't, that.
How about reading other people's homework?
And I don't mind reading other people's. So the other thing is when we talked about ADUs, et cetera, would that mean us being landlords, which is something that we sound like we don't want to do, but personally, maybe something we have to do?
No,
The way I'm
You're not
thinking
equipped
at
to do it.
Garfield, I'm thinking about people. I'm thinking about it's a way to make it affordable to live with a higher mortgage or a higher tax. So I'm thinking of seniors who struggle with the tax rate in Great Barrington, and I'm thinking of families that maybe aren't eligible for the AMI, but what a mortgage costs right now in South County is kind of out of reach still.
But you're talking
If
about, we're
they
talking
could
about
convert-
us
They could
building
convert the
them.
garage into a 1-bedroom and offer it as affordable housing, they'd be the landlord, but we would be able to put money on the table to help them make that conversion. Now they're able to pay their mortgage and we get an affordable dwelling unit. That's what I'm thinking about.
My understanding is that we can only do it for income qualified people. So,
But
What do
yeah,
you mean by that?
we can go to 100% of area median income for our grants. I do not believe that
Yeah.
by right, we can go beyond that.
that may not be an issue, Fred, because an older couple in town who can't necessarily, are having trouble paying the taxes, probably don't have a lot of income. They
That's-
probably are well below 100 or 100% of AMI. So we can give them,
We don't have a test of what your means. In other words, you could have a $500,000 in the bank, but
Right.
your social security is limited. All we care about is your income, not
that's
what,
right, which
Not
means
what
we could
your-
probably give
not
them
what
an assist in developing it in
not what your
ADU.
house is worth, or anything like that.
Right,
There's a
but-
senior tax deferral that passed for seniors.
right,
yeah, I
But-
mean, it's there, that's good.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's the kind of thing that given what we're looking at for the budget for this current fiscal year, it would be low cost, it would be low effort for us to try it.
yeah,
The effort we need is the same effort I think we need across the board, which is really making sure the community knows what exists so that any data we're looking at about how programs are utilized reflects that people actually know about them.
advertising,
Mhm.
marketing.
Well, I also want to explore options that don't rely so much on us paying money. I don't know if there's any way that we can structure it so that we can, help or I don't know. I'll come back with some ideas later, but
I think the only thing that gets people's attention really is money.
I mean, we're talking about how do we influence the market?
Mhm.
yes.
And we have such a small amount of money to do that with. If we can put 25,000 or 50 or some amount of money on the table and it adds a housing unit, that's really high value for the community.
I think so. I think it's worth pursuing.
Do we dare try it with the $150,000 or $245,000 we have?
We'd have to decide how much money would entice people who are not all that enthusiastic at the moment about putting an ADU on their property and
Yeah, that might.
see what it would take.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that this is how we get people to put an ADU that weren't even thinking about it. I think this is more people this income would make a big difference, and don't have the income to put an ADU on.
Mhm.
I think it's a slightly different slice, and maybe, you know, like maybe we try it and there aren't enough, which makes it pretty low cost for us.
Yeah.
Women aren't enough. I'm sorry.
There aren't, like, maybe we find out from this that even with a lot of advertising, there aren't very many people that are interested.
Okay.
Maybe it's because of the AMI restrictions.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see something like this that people can access who are outside of AMI as a way to deal with how expensive the market is, so that, because there's a broader section of the population that needs help to live here. But if we're confined to AMI, even like we can't, I was thinking that it would be fine because it would be that it becomes affordable housing and the only people who can rent it have to
Yes.
qualify for AMI.
Yes.
AMI, Amanda, what's AMI?
It's the average medium income for the area. And it's an outside determination, like we don't get to determine it.
Yeah, and we may be able to structure it that way so that it's the renter, depending on who gets the grant. I don't know.
'Cause if we're able to structure it that way, I think we have more people who would consider this.
Yeah. You know, the
We
other
also
thing.
impact the market much better because we've created an affordable unit.
Yeah. The other thing.
You've done two things. You've created an affordable unit and you've kept you've kept a family in a house that they can't necessarily afford a mortgage
Yeah.
at our current rates. So it interacts with the market in two ways that I think would be a win-win if we can do it that way.
Wait, the other thing we could do in conjunction with that is to offer a tax abatement for 10 years on the ADU. And then you're really talking some money.
Yes,
And all we have to do is convince town meeting to let that happen. And I don't see that would meet with a lot of resistance.
Yeah, I mean, the burden of taxes, sewer fees, water fees, things like that add up so that there are expenses that
Yeah.
somebody has to.
But if you're not going to be taxed on the new ADU for 10 years, and then you're going to be paying the same property tax and you're going to be getting little income in from that ADU, that begins to look like it makes sense.
Yeah, and
With that-
instead, and because I think like right now, when I think that there's a calculus for people that like to make the ADU, they're gonna have to invest the same amount that they're out, like what it's gonna cost them to have the ADU in their regular mortgage. It's not gonna help as much as they need it to. But if we could make it that getting that there doesn't add this huge financial burden, it just helps them get income, and we get an affordable dwelling unit that's locked in, that changes what's available in Great Barrington.
I think we've outlined the idea, and I think we need to move on because of time. I like the idea. I think we've got the gist of it, and we can flesh it out and develop it as we go forward. What other lands? Rob had some ideas about buying or donated land. That could be one.
I have another sort of related thing, which is, we were talking about the short-term rental tax, the 3% that we're going to be getting, which is about 10 grand. I think next year we should propose to town meeting that all of the room tax money go to the Affordable Housing Trust. I think that would fly at town meeting too.
Will it get through the select board?
Yeah,
Sure,
one-
Garfield will push it through.
Well, and you have two options. You can do it as a citizen petition.
That's right.
A well-written, well-designed one,
Yeah.
please.
But
Or you get the select board to back it.
yes,
I also
think get the
have.
select board to back it.
yeah,
Myself and Lee already, and Steven's pretty easy.
yes. I
Garfield,
think
you had
select board
your
would be-
hand up.
I did. There's one thing I was thinking about, and it's a little bit back to the ADUs, but one is, I guess, when we're talking about a tax abatement, I'm sure everyone's going to wonder, and I can see someone wondering, what's it going to cost the town? Or is the town going to lose money? And the other thing is, well, we'll have to have some nice people that are going to do this, because it's not so hard sometimes with the best intention or things to go bad, and somebody gets a knucklehead living in their ADU and they're nice folks, and you got a knucklehead and you can't get them out. then there's trouble. So we have to make sure we can cover any loopholes or whatever. If there's a way that maybe that person doesn't want these people living on their property anymore because they're destructive, we have to be able to do something for them.
Well, I mean, I think it's two things. I think on the first one, there's no lost income to the town because the income, those units don't exist yet. So it's a deferment of when new income gets added by 10 years. And it's not going to be that many units
Right.
that at any given time in a 10-year period, that's going to be a big deal.
And
On your
the-
second point, it doesn't have anything to do with us. They'd be landlords, there'd be leases, they'd fall under Massachusetts law, and they'd have to follow all of those
But
processes.
that's the thing, though, you're gonna have to get people to feel comfortable with that, because not anybody in the brothers
see your
gonna want
point, yeah.
something, whether or not we're the landlords or not. I mean,
Yeah,
you would
that's-
feel the same way, I would feel the same way. I'd wanna make sure the person that's there is gonna be someone that I want there.
Yeah, but we're not gonna place them, you know.
I understand that. I
Right?
understand
Like, it's
that,
the
but
same
we'll have
process
some-
of any landlord.
We'll
renting.
have some responsibility, will we not? We're
No.
gonna-
No,
No,
There'll be
none.
people who won't want to be landlords who won't take advantage of this project.
no.
And we won't twist their arm.
I also have a call. Jane Ralph has contacted me and we're speaking tomorrow. She's asked if the Affordable Housing Trust would provide a grant for some of their workforce housing. I haven't talked to her yet. I believe she's talking about the Eagleton School project. I obviously can't commit this board to anything going forward, but I wanted to let you know that Construct is interested in having the Affordable Housing Trust give them a grant.
Was there a money fee? Is it all of our money or just a little?
It's probably all of our money.
No.
She mentioned $350,000.
Oh, that's more than all of our money.
Clearly, we just need more money.
Yeah, we do.
But this is where we might be a vehicle to accessing ARPA for them.
Yes. Or they could access ARPA actually directly, more than likely.
Yeah.
I think we need to have conversations with the town about that. We go to the CPC committee for CPA money, and we're competing with CDC and Construct. And we get in front of them and they say, why should I talk to you? I can talk to Construct, I can talk to CDC directly. And, I don't know, we need to figure out what our role is. Me personally, I don't really care who builds the affordable housing as long as somebody does. I don't really care if we get the credit or somebody else does. I will tell you that something like the rental assistance, we do a much better job of running programs as opposed to projects than the CPC does. They see it one time, they give them a blanket grant of $100,000. We see it on a quarterly basis. We can advise, we can review, we can approve budgets, which is all of which we do. So
Yeah.
that's my little high horse tonight.
Yeah, but I'm wondering though, if the shared goal is to increase the proportion of CPA money going to affordable housing in a time of acute crisis. Though we can work with CDC and Construct with that goal.
Yeah.
And carve out what we're like, just be really think of those three proposals that go in as a single proposal for the town for the coming year, with each of us having a slice of the work.
How about us having a joint meeting? We do that with select board has joint meetings. Can't we have a joint meeting with the CDC or?
Well,
whoever?
we are-
Carol's with
we're
us
having one
tonight.
now.
Carol's with us tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening and I'm interested in pursuing further conversations. Just keep in mind, I'm the interim, so as of this point. But we are definitely trying to explore all different kinds of avenues, whether it's ADUs, how to get more nimble about financing, how to be more expedient about getting these things done. So I'm very eager on behalf of the organization to continue the conversation. Unfortunately, I have to go right now, but
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for all that you do. And let's figure out the next steps. Fred, maybe you and I should have a conversation in the coming weeks.
I'd be happy to talk with you.
Okay, I'll reach out. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I know this has been sort of a far-reaching and perhaps a little less organized than some people would prefer meeting, but I think we've covered a lot of territory. And we are moving on in time. Not everyone can commit to stay on this call tonight. So I think we've got a couple of ideas that we've started on. I think we'd like to work on those in the interim. In terms of setting the next meeting date, I've struggled with trying to find a night that works for people. Basically, this is the fourth Thursday of the month. People have told me that Wednesdays don't work, that Monday's a select board meeting. Nobody wants to meet on Fridays. That kind of leaves Tuesdays or Thursdays. And then there's lots of conflicts with other people being on. I mean, I'm on 3 committees myself.
This is a planning board meeting night.
This is a planning board meeting night, which is very difficult because Chris Rambold, who is our staff representative, is obviously a planning board. And Jeremy is one of our biggest supporters, often attends all of our meetings as well.
Tuesdays might be all right. Well, Tuesdays coming up will be all right for me once the Relay for Life is over, which I would encourage everyone to come to in Pittsfield on Saturday. It's the Cancer Society's biggest fundraiser.
Well, I guess the question is, should I keep it on 4th Thursdays for July? I have a conflict that night, but and the summer is always very difficult.
I will be away that week in July.
That would be the 28th, I think.
Well, how about one of the first or second Thursdays?
Jeremy-
We need to find time. We need to do
Laura?
it.
Jeremy just texted me to tell me that the planning board is 2nd and 4th Thursdays. Can we do the 3rd Thursday?
I could.
I could.
I think,
You wanna do the
Steph,
first
did you have a
one?
problem with that?
I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I have some, like every other month I have a conflict, but I don't in July, so we can do that July for sure. And
I have a conflict, but that really doesn't matter because, somebody's always going to have something. And at this point, it's a soft conflict. It may or may not materialize. Why don't I go ahead and schedule it for the 3rd Thursday? And we'll see if people can do it. I don't know what John Katz's schedule is at this point.
Yeah, and I think if we just keep chipping away at trying to find our corner on the calendar, we'll all know how to schedule around it.
Yes, I think that we need to have a predictable time so
Yeah.
that we can put it out going forward.
I like 3rd Thursday.
Me too.
Okay.
30?
I'd like to see if we could wrap up. I know that everybody still has some ideas, but we have this idea of the ADU units. Ananda, do you have any time to put together some outline, just an outline? of that?
Sure, I mean,
Or Bill, who wants to volunteer? Let's put it that way.
I think,
Yeah, I can do
just-
something on it.
are we doing this as individuals or are we going to pair up?
I think 2 of us could work on something like this. And as long as we don't discuss it with any other committee members until the next meeting.
Right, that's okay.
Yeah. I think we're pretty okay there.
I believe you can share them with the chair, but
Yes,
only as information.
Yes, we can't discuss them, but we can share them.
You can't deliberate.
We can't
You can
deliberate.
deliberate, but you can have, you can have any one-on-one conversations you may
Yeah.
have.
Yeah,
And Robert, would you like to meet with me to discuss the donation, the fundraisers, donations of land, et cetera, et cetera?
What I'd like to do is work on getting the word out on the programs that we already have. Bill, I may lean on you a little bit to help out with.
yeah, sure.
At one point, we ran an ad in the Shopper. Very inexpensive, reaches a lot of people, very effective. I don't know that it actually brought in anybody, but I believe in the Shopper. I think it just
Yeah, there's a couple of,
good
you
bucks,
know,
good bang for the
Facebook
money.
groups or whatever
I
too.
think
that are
there's
active.
that. I just would
Shopper's
also,
Guide.
I'd encourage you to talk with Chris or Mark about in general what the town's doing, because I think that there's stuff we don't have to do. We just need to plug information into.
Okay, I will do that too.
I mean, I think Ellen Lar is always looking for good content, happy stories, positive things to shout out about the town in her role as a contractor on doing social media.
Mhm.
And we've done, a couple of those things. Bill has posted a couple on our website. Nothing fairly recently, but
Yeah,
success stories.
we actually have a Facebook page too. For what that's worth.
We do?
That's very exciting.
Yes.
Can we get Ellen Lar to run that Facebook page too?
Maybe. I'll have to talk to Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think that will be an easy yes. I think that they'll be,
Yeah,
I mean, because right now the media story is what's anybody doing about affordable housing?
Well, Bill and I did appear on the Coffee with the Town Manager in,
I know, I was there.
and it kind of got sidetracked a little bit from, not to say hijacked, but it wasn't quite as focused on what the Affordable Housing Trust could do as we would have hoped. But we can keep doing things like that. Does
What-
anyone else have any other ideas or would like to say anything?
I would like to find out what's the name of the Facebook page. Because I,
If you just go on Facebook and search Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust, it comes right up.
Excuse me.
yeah. Yeah, I believe it's Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Yep.
Thanks for the new faces and the great ideas, Ananda and Christina, and was it Robert? Rob, thanks
Rob.
for coming aboard and sharing your knowledge.
Indeed.
If that's all, and if anyone else, if any media time, citizen speak time, is there anyone else who wants to say anything? Hearing none, without objection, I am going to stop the recording and adjourn this meeting. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Good night.